Okay, there we go. So I'm just doing a little bit of animation before I switch on over to doing a sketch for today. So it's nice and quiet here today. So I'm just doing some cleanup on this because I needed to get a little bit more of this done yesterday, and I only got a smidge of it done. Because let's see, he's got to have a tie. But more importantly, I've got to add in his lip stud. There we are, that's what I want. So I'm just going to do a little bit of this before I get to actually doing a sketch of some kind. I'm still working out what kind of effects I wanted, audio I want to add in for some of this, just because there's a couple different options I got. Had a cat sitting on me for the last 40 minutes, and she's not that comfortable. Now she's realizing I don't want her on me, so she's going to try and stay put regardless. So I just got to add in his lip stud. Because I will add in his bow tie on my own time. I've also got to add in a joke or two with the bow tie. But the important thing is my client likes the commercial so far. There we go. Yeah, this is the part of animation that always gets a little tedious just because you've got all kinds of crazy things you have to add in. And then you got to make sure everything works right. Okay, come on, kitty. There you go. You're being a pest. I'm probably going to add in a bounce sound effect for that. So first thing I do is I go over to his dialogue. Oh wait, that's right. He's got a head tilt here. I got to do that first. Okay, blink and there. Oops. All right. Flash is being difficult. Come here, you. So because he's got a head tilt here, I have to do this at a slight angle. And I was actually watching somebody with a lip stud talk online the other day just for a little while to double check some of my motions here. Because even though this is simplified, and it doesn't have to be perfect, I still want to put in a good amount of work. I've also got to think up some gags with the bow tie that he's going to have on, because you want to have fun jokes. And I am trying to get a little bit better with my visual humor. I am not finished with Dungeons in Debt's new episode yet. I was doing some cleanup on it, and then last night when I finished off a chunk of it, and I'm down to just the last shot, I realize I need another joke. And so I haven't quite sorted out what that joke is. I'm trying to see if I can even make it work, because I've got the animation for it done. That's what I was working on before I got started here. So here's where we take a look at the frames.
You know what else is really good? No.
All right.
You know what else is really good?
I'm going to cover that up just a little bit.
You know what else is really good?
So after I get a little bit more of this done, I will shift on over to the new project, which I have not decided yet. That's also why I'm doing this. I'm just biding my time. Hello, Wolfie. Thank you for the compliment on the TF2 parody tunes. I'm trying to get myself thinking like how I used to with some of those, because I've got the first tune that I'm probably going to start in just a little bit. But before I do anything, I have to double check a few things, because I want to have I gotta do a quick design on the heavy, because he is the first character that I'm going to do a tune about. Uh-oh. I gotta switch these as locations, because so for the heavy, I've still got my old design I did from last year. I need to adjust it just a little bit. Because I've got my new approach, and the new approach just needs a few revisions. So the first tune I'm going to do is the heavy eating a sandwich. And I've been going through my head how I want to animate some of what's going to happen in it for the past few days, because it's going to be a little unusual. I'm trying to go for that weird, surreal look to it, just because I was thinking, based on the moment that happens in the tune, it needs to be bizarre. And so I think I got that. Yeah, I was, I guess, looking at someone else's homework again. I was studying a few old TF tunes that I really liked, just to try and get a rough idea about how I wanted to proceed.
No, put your hand. No, put.
Okay, that's why this is crooked. Come here, you. Because I've got 9 of these tunes planned. So the first one is the heavy, because it's the easiest one to do. It's also me getting my feet wet after having not animated a Toon Fortress tune in a while. The last one I was doing didn't quite work out. I got lost in whatever weird story I was trying to do. It was going to be called Quarantine, where the Scoot is running around maps trying to find other players and can't find anybody, and then starts having to deal with bots. And I thought about that, and while it was funny at first, after going back and playing TF2 and remembering how many of those aim bots had taken over everything, I lost interest in the tune. But for this one, it's just going to be the heavy eating a sandwich. It's just meant to be a short, maybe 20-second tune. I was thinking about how to do the proper exaggerations for the joke, because the joke is a grim realization that the character has. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that going, and then I was also going over the next Dungeons in Debt tune I want to do and how to do all the blob and slime animation stuff. And I haven't gotten all the answers on that one, but that's okay, because I don't have to get started on that ASAP, especially since I'm still finishing up the current one, because I'm trying to get the last joke that in the game. I'm trying to get the last joke of the tune down. It is a music cue joke, so I have to have some animation queued up to music. So it's got to be in sync. And the song is a little bit more difficult than I thought. because the song is video game music. It's a classic tune. So I've got just a little bit more there. Then also I had to double check and see what I'm allowed to have in terms of content. And I didn't see anything, any no's on this. So I'm going to go ahead with it. Because you know how YouTube has been getting real weird over. They've kind of been micromanaging the animators and a lot of the jokes. For a while, they wanted everything to be kid friendly, and now they're saying because they got in trouble with the FCC, that stuff doesn't have to be kid friendly, but they still don't want the swears and things like that. So I can't do anything like that, which is fine. I don't need to, swear. I don't need to swear, have a character swear to make a joke. But there's a hand gesture I really wanted to have in. And I think I'm going to just go for that. Originally, I was going to have the character stick her tongue out. And I thought I could do something a little bit more. Just because I'm pretty sure there are plenty of D&D players that would do that if they given the chance. So we just finish him up here. We'll get his smile. There we go. That's okay. Gotta raise it up just a little bit. A little bit more. Oh, I'm off a frame. And this will be about where I stop on this. So the TF2 tunes I've got planned, some of them are going to be short. Some of them might actually be slightly more intricate. I kind of wanted to do one for every character on the team. Just because everybody's got their own unique situations. But I haven't quite worked out the demos just yet. I'm still working on the snipers. So it's getting there, though. I'm happy with what I got so far. It's just a matter of actually animating it, because I have to be better at milking every single moment that I have. Between that and trying to sort out my webisode pilot second episode, I think I finally succeeded on that. So now we double check the animation here.
It was really good. You know what else is really good? No, put your hands down, children. Guys?
Oh, I missed some.
Guys?
Oh, I missed one. Ugh, can't do that. So, the other thing I was taking a look at was trying to simplify the backgrounds just a smidge. Because even though I've got, for the TF2 tune, I'm going to have 90% of the tune is going to be the heavy in the foreground eating his sandwich. I wanted to have a quick gag or two in the background real quick, and I haven't sorted those out. But here, we'll take another good look at this.
You know what else is really good? No, put your hand...
Oh. Might help if I did both of this and this. There we go.
You know what else is really good? No, put your hands down, children. Guys? You know what else is really good?
All right. I still got to add in his bow tie, but I think I'm okay. So, starting a brand new tune. Let's see. It is what? 1280. 720. I got to get my canvas sorted out real quick. And I will have the usual TF2 meet the blank template at the start of this, but I'm not going to do it for right now. The problem is it's part of the joke. And so I got to, first I got to go to get my old heavy design. This is going to be, save the file as that. My documents folder /22. Oh. Oh, I've got, desktop. There we go. I have to go to my old Pootis Massacre file. Nope, come on. There we go. I don't want the finale. I want the, get out of here. So this was last year's design. And this is from an older frame. So I just got to adjust his look. I'm probably going to end up reanimating this whole Pootis Massacre parody because I only kind of liked what I had. But for right now, we'll ignore that. So before I do anything, we have to adjust his design. So I've got the old design right here. There we go. Actually, weren't the heavy pants gray? Okay, I guess that's the color that they are, because they're supposed to be more like that. But I will fuss about that later. So, step one. There we go. Oh, Flash, stop being an asshole. Oh, I wish I had that installed CD. But unfortunately, I think that's probably... Well, I'm not even sure if it's around anymore. I don't even remember what year I got it. I keep thinking 2017. It might have been 2018. So... Okay. So as I'm trying to get this different style going here, there are certain aspects of the style I liked. Because I find myself enjoying drawing shapes. Fix the line so it's more like that. Very good. Oh, I hear dogs woofing in the back. Let's see, I need to correct the size here just a bit. I will do the same over here. So I'm trying to keep some of the old design that I had in the past, but I want to do something better. Got to get rid of that little ridge there and round off the tip of his head. Okay. Yeah, I was taking a look at that TF2 panel they had, where they had, what was it, the medic, the heavy, the administrator, and sniper's voices at a convention. And it was kind of nice to see everybody, to get everybody there together. Oh, cat, you don't need to keep coming back on my lap. But part of me has been debating how toony I want everything to look now that I'm coming back to this. Because part of me wanted to go as toony as possible. The other part of me was thinking, well, maybe I should try and match the dimensions of the characters a little bit more. Just a little bit more. That way, maybe they'll be a little bit more visually pleasing to the audience who aren't subbed to me. So we'll see how things go. And this head design, I actually was remembering where I saw it first, and I didn't even register that it was Wallace and Gromit. There was the evil robot dog episode where the dog, it's a close shave, that's it, where the dog is an evil robot, and it's got kind of this head shape. So I was looking at that and thinking about doing that just a little bit, just because it's proven that it works, so I don't have to double guess myself too much, because I will constantly nitpick myself. Because we've got fall coming in, which is my favorite season. And unfortunately, because that's my favorite season, I start thinking more about horror than I do other tunes. Even though I don't have nieces and nephews to take out trick-or-treating this year. But on the good news, my father finally got his chemo. It came in the other day, and he had his blood transfusion, so he's doing good. The only thing is he's tired today. And when he gets tired early in the day, that's the chemo. So I'm hoping all it does is make him tired, because the last stuff he had could have killed him. Almost killed him. Yeah. All this hospital stuff. It's not fun to deal with. It's pretty damn stressful, because there's a million things that can go wrong. And even though there's a million things that can go wrong, I only have one father, so. But we'll see what happens on Monday, whether or not we can get the new oncologist. My hopes are not very high, just because of what the luck has been around here for the past few months. But there we go. I think we got a new heavy design. Okay. So that's his head. Got to do his body now, so I will double check the reference. Normally I do things a little differently and just sort of do my own thing, but I want to give it a shot to try and capture the body type of the character a little bit more. I hear pumping in the background. That's someone who wants to share their music with the neighborhood. Let's see. Ah, that's right. I gotta put his gut in. Good thing I'm not drawing Ethan Ralph. Ugh. Well, now the hard part comes in, and that's just the adjust it. But I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to be just a little bit lazier than normal this early in what I'm doing. Just so I can try and get just that smidge of progress in a little faster. I was, at the very least, attempting to study the body type on the original design a little bit more the other night, and I took a look at it today, and I'm double checking it now. Just because I'm thinking maybe if I do that, I can get a few more views, a few more subs. Because I'm trying to see if I can't get the partnership finished off before this time next year, because it's going to take me a year. And then there's hopefully the 4-frame attempt. The vest has to come up just a smidge, but it's almost there. Good. So this needs to come up. There we are. Try and get that gut down just a little bit more. And then I wanted to exaggerate his lower body some more. So I've got the somewhat stubby legs right down there. I'm going to see about doing a little bit more with them, and in order to finish this design out just a smidge, we do the gut. Greedy cat, I see you over there. Whew. Got some phlegm building up in the back of my throat. Blah. So as I try and sort out the coming projects, I'm constantly reminded of little things I can do. And part of me is questioning if the little things are even going to matter, because I'm still wondering in the back of my head, well, maybe I just need to make bigger changes. I don't know yet. But so far, you saw how fast I was getting that Dungeons and Debt tune done, and that was because I simplified things. It took a few streams to figure that out. Let's see. So this has to come up about right there. And because I don't want the torso to be too long, I will shrink that a little bit too. But I was looking at small things I could do, and I guess I gotta do some slightly better internet humor, which is always a little hard because I'm still trying to find my own voice humor-wise. Because I've mentioned several times I used to be a little bit better at this 10 years ago, and I don't want to just mimic people either. I see a cat that's about to have a tantrum because she wants more food. It's 4 o'clock. Okay, I'll feed you guys in about an hour. But it's interesting looking at internet humor, what works, what doesn't. And I've kind of realized, when I used to do this stuff, I never would really think too hard about it. I would just do the first thing or so that would come to my mind. And unfortunately, since my focus has shifted, now the first thing that comes to my mind is usually a story thing as opposed to a joke thing, but still. But these are all going to be little shorts that have just a crude story to them. Because I've been thinking about my screenwriting more, and I've been thinking about screenwriting in general. Because I've got my webisode pilot that I really, really, really want to do. And the problem with it is, I'm trying to push myself to put out something that's like almost an industry standard in terms of screenplay quality. Animation is going to be something different. That's always its own problem. But the screenplay quality, that's where I need to actually be on point. And I really keep worrying about that because one, it's going to take me probably a year to do 10 minutes of animation, which it may not be 10 minutes, it might just be 9 minutes. Doesn't matter. That's a lot of animation. So I am seriously trying to plan ahead. I see why this isn't working out. Come here, you. I'm seriously trying to plan ahead with it, because the more I plan ahead, the less correcting I have to do down the road. Oh, stop. You're being a brat cat now. Come on. Yeah, you stop being a brat cat. The cat's getting antsy. So, yeah, I was not retaining the egg shape of his body enough. There we go. So, the planning ahead is what will save me some time. And that means I got to be on point with everything. And since I'm not on point with everything right now, I'm getting kind of antsy. But I'm also getting antsy because I should have had episode 2 done by now. And I haven't. Episode 2 is still gone off in 3 different directions as I've been trying to write it. And I finally found out why. Keep trying to do too damn much. So, one of the things in screenwriting that I remember, and something that I've learned as well, is generally, even though you have a movie is usually about 60 scenes. And every scene is usually about one thing, even though it's usually related to the larger story. Well, YouTube shorts aren't too hard because they're the same. They're about one thing. So I keep looking at that and thinking, okay, all I got to do is write a short about one thing and not get lost in it. And there you go. That's about as simple as it gets. The only problem is I'm still trying to get the last of my feedback on that script. Yeah, that head's too big now. You can see. Look at that. Oh, hey, Mitchell. Yeah, I'm doing a Saturday stream. I'm just piecing together the new character design for the Heavy. Because the first Toon Fortress tune I'm going to do is with the Heavy. So I've been going over in the back of my head what I have to do to get this started, and he needed a redesign, so this was last year's redesign. And then this is this year's redesign, which is a little bit more distinct. As regarding my father, we finally got his chemo after a week and a half, 2 weeks of trying. There was some kind of a fuck up. I don't know what happened. So they said he needed to mail it to the specialty pharmacy. And he mailed it to them, and for some reason they didn't get it. Which, that scares the shit out of me and my mom. And so at the last minute, a week ago, I was able to fax it to them. He signed it. It was good to go. And then they had to get it to the manufacturer. And the manufacturer took about 2 days to get his medication sorted out. And the reason it takes 2 days is because they work with people who are low income and look for charities to pay it and whatnot. So he's got a year of his chemo meds. The only problem is it took forever to get them. And he also had to have a transfusion the other day. Kitty, come on, you're being a pest. So he had to have a blood transfusion because, his bone marrow is down to 20%, and that's where you get your blood cells from. Unless you're my father, because he can't get his blood cells reliably from there. One, until the chemo is done. We've only finished one chemo cycle. So we got that taken care of, and then he got a blood transfusion, and then now all he's got to do next week is fly over to the middle of the state, even in Delta, and then he's got his cardiologist appointment so she can check on him because he had a stent put in. That's where they put an artificial vein in your body to work around where you've got blockage. And in his case, because he was low on blood when he had that heart attack, which is part of what caused it, that was the end result of it. So his heart trouble runs on my father's side of the family. I have to be more careful than I've been. That's why I've been working more on exercise this week. It helps when it's cool. As a matter of fact, yes. He had a blood transfusion. They had to irradiate it, which is where they get rid of all the bacteria in it. Oh, excuse me. That's right. That's what the stint is. Blah. Yeah, I get my terminology mixed up sometimes. So here we go. We have our Heavy's new design. I've got to do one adjustment on the boots because I keep remembering his pants being a separate color. You're, Jesus, Mitchell, 7 stints? Whew. Yeah, my father has 3. But he had his heart trouble started kicking in when he was in his 50s. And they put 2 in, and then there was a third one that they were speaking about putting in, but nobody ever did. I don't know why. I was not there for that because I was in California. And the shade of blue here is a little too faded. I want the brighter blue. Yeah, there's an old TF2 color palette that I generally use. So, yeah, my father has had his I believe, put in his arm. So his circulation has improved. He's somewhat back to normal, but then he started the chemo. And when you start the chemo, you are not back to normal. So he took his chemo at 4 o'clock yesterday. We went out for pizza, and then when he got home, he was getting sleepy. That's the chemo doing its thing. No, kitty, I hear you begging. You put that nose away. Yeah, that's the bad kitty. She's constantly getting into stuff. Yeah. Yeah, chemo is awful. Horrible stuff. But it does its job. The chemo pills he was on previously, it was a slightly stronger form of chemo. So he was taking what, 10 pills a day once a week for 3 weeks. And that almost killed him because it was too much for his system, even though it wasn't a very strong dose. I have a feeling it has to do with the fact because his body is not producing much in the way of it's not replenishing blood very fast, so that's why it was too much for his system. This new chemo he is on is 1 pill a day for 3 weeks, and then you don't take any for a week. It's 3 with, 1 without. And so we are hoping that does the trick, because he's got to finish, I believe, 4 of these cycles of chemo before they can see how things are going with him. I don't know what to expect because so far things have only gone so-so. But I'm still learning about a lot of this stuff. It's really awful shit. It is. But it's, once they kill off all these freaking cancer cells, his body can resume somewhat normal function, but the problem still is he needs more bone marrow than he has. And I know they were talking about doing a bone marrow transplant. It would be a self-transplant. So, oh no, nah, Mitchell, my father, I don't think my father would even get that reference. I get it because I watched Breaking Bad. But yeah, unfortunately the type of cancer he has it's not conventional cancer either. It's rare cancer. So I already told him he doesn't get to die until he gets to see me succeed at something, because he's never gotten a chance to really see me succeed. And I've had to spend some time thinking over what success would be for me. And in my case right now, I'm thinking success might mean finishing and selling a feature screenplay, or winning a screenplay competition, something that's big, but that's still small. Because it has to be something more beneficial to my future than just finishing off the YouTube partnership, even though that would that's not a bad thing at all. That would be incredibly beneficial. But I got to raise the stakes. I wish, Mitchell. I'd rather. I can't hurry the hell up, unfortunately. With some of the one screenplay I've got, the idea is still disjointed, and it's got to be done in a certain way, and I haven't figured out what that way is yet. I will probably have to bother a professional screenwriter regarding that, and that's unfortunate because I want to be able to do it all myself, but I don't have the time or the luxury anymore. It's all gone now, and I've got whew, maybe a year before things get worse. No, it's got to be my story. It's because I've got the beginning, I've got the ending, I've got some of the middle, but the middle is Act Two. Act Two is always the hard part because everybody, any screenwriter who knows the craft will tell you it's always the hard part because you can get lost in several different ideas, and that's bad because Act Two is generally supposed to be about one thing. Well, now you have to find out what that one thing is, and that while it's always related to your theme, in my case, I have an ensemble piece of characters. So I've got 4 characters, and one is the protagonist, one is the villain. And then I've got the mentor character, and then I've got the side character who's kind of the comic relief. But only kind of the comic relief. It's just more so she is kind of a funny character, but she's not meant to be laugh your ass off funny like you would see in a more traditional film. Cat, stop it. Cat throwing a conniption. She wants her food. Not quite a shtick. I figured out what she is as a character. Now it's just a matter of fleshing her out a little bit more. I've got a British character who's a skier, and she is kind of competitive. So I'm working on that because the other characters I've got all have specific roles. Okay, I was worried about that. This is only half working on the arm. That's why I very much like Undo as much as I do. Oh, Undo's a huge time saver. So she's very much a jokey character that makes the sarcastic comments, but that's it. You don't want to have characters like that make the stupid comments at every moment. You want those characters to make them at the right moments. And since the protagonist is mute in the story, I'm still sorting out how to have her explain her methodology for certain things in the story. Yep, I've got a mute protagonist, and she's a pretty passive character right now, which you're not supposed to have that. And the problem is I want her to be passive, and there's a certain amount of the character being active I have to sort out. And so I'm working on that, where I have to find the right amount of passivity and the right amount of activeness, where she's not always hiding in the background, even though that's what I originally designed her as. But it's still somebody who doesn't have anything. She's meant to be a very empty character. And then I've got the other characters who have more life to them. Because I've got a security guard, an off-duty cop, a mute, and a tourist, all trapped in one location. And the location is a haunted hotel. We'll say haunted just because I don't have a better word to describe what it is, even though it's not technically haunted. You could be right, Mitchell. It could just be a slice of life story, even though it's a horror story. I'm doing something a little different in terms of horror, where it's uh, The Thing was always one of my favorite movies by John Carpenter. I don't mind the original. It's not as strong as what Carpenter did. It just didn't. It's not as gripping. The monster is not as clever, and it's also the one sad thing is that Carpenter's version is just a it was underappreciated, but it really is a masterpiece. Perfect acting. Oh, slash of life. You could be right. So the Carpenter version is special to me because it's a you've got all the characters in that movie, and a lot of them are actually doing the right thing. Okay, I shouldn't do that. I gotta stop nitpicking. I'm nitpicking too much again. We'll just condense the arms a little bit because I want them down to about here. I was thinking about extending the legs. No, I can't do that. But the idea is I've got four dynamic characters. Oh, did you ever see John Carpenter's The Thing with Kurt Russell? Because that's always been a major influence for me because it's got very smart characters, even though they're panicky. Cat, stop it. You're not starving. You got fed earlier today. Kitty tantrums. Ugh. But with what I've got going here, I've got something very weird, but it's weird by design. It's a game, and it's a game where the character the characters, the four players they have to play the game. The game is basically a maze. They have to find their shared hotel room. And the only way to get there is they've got one person who is essentially the guide. And the guide has to lead them all to their hotel room, and the guide is the mute woman. But because of the nature of the hotel, they have 11 hours to find their room. If they go the wrong way, no, oh no, I would say a little bit of Saw, but not with the paranormal activity stuff because there is the staff that they interact with, and then there are the rules of the game. And I'm still trying to sort out how to do the rules scene, because you have 12 hours to find your way out. If you fail, the hotel gets your soul as well as your life. Because it's a hotel for the dead. In one moment, I've got to chase these kitties out. They're being pests. There, pesky cats. So, uh, that was the Russian voice actor, the Heavy, wasn't it? Because they said the Heavy's Russian voice actor had passed away. Whew. Let me double check the TF2 subreddit and see if there's anything I'm missing. Yeah, it's the Russian Heavy voice actor. Nope. I hear you scratching at the door, kitties. You guys can stay outside for a while. Yeah, I gotta give him stubby hands. Wasn't the Heavy isn't the Heavy canonically from the Ukraine? I'm trying to remember my TF2 lore. I haven't played TF2 in a long time just because I've been busy. I took time off to try and focus more on animation. And then everything happened with my father about 3 months later. But yeah, I think I've got a couple thousand hours of TF2. Okay, everything is now slightly more proportional with the Heavy. The head is still a little long. I can condense that just a smidge more. But the hands are okay, and then I gotta add his bullet vest. I've found the smoothing is a little hit or miss. So one of the things I was contemplating on doing with this was just adopting a sloppier art style, just to see if I could get over my nitpicking. And I wasn't able to get over my nitpicking. You're not getting in, kitty. You're not missing out on anything either. You guys are just being pests. Jeez. You kitties need to give me space. Yeah, I hear the scratching at the door. She thinks she's gonna get food. And it's not time for food, not yet anyways. Oh, I hear my mom giving me a call. Let me go check and see what that's. Nope, go away. You guys behave yourselves. Oh, okay. Technical difficulties. I had to fix something for my mom. She is not computer literate. And so my folks have a widescreen TV that you can, set up a device to, and it's already they've already got everything set up to Roku. But that means everything is going through the laptop. So my mom was upset that the volume wouldn't go any louder, and it's because the volume of the laptop speakers is so low. Unfortunately, now I've got pesky cats back in my room. No, I don't need a kitty on my lap, thank you. Yeah. So I'm been seeing the sad news that Indiana Jones 5 is unfortunately still coming out. And I say unfortunately because I've been keeping up with the leaks on the script. Now I need to shut my door again. Stupid cat. Go on. Jeez, the cats can't decide whether they want in or out. Ugh. But I already know the leaks on Indiana Jones 5, and it's not good. It's actually horrifyingly awful, the story that they've got. Just because it doesn't have any heart. It's also... it's a time travel movie. So whenever a studio turns to time travel for a film that's a sequel to something, that's not good. That usually means that the focus of the story is to retcon an event or stop someone from retconning an event, and with all the interesting archaeological stuff that they could do, it's just now they've got time traveling Nazis that go through Roman times, from what it sounds like, and I've seen the set photos to unfortunately confirm that. Okay, we've got a heavy. Good. But it gets worse, because the whole film is essentially just to kill off Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. Unfortunately, you're not wrong, Mitchell, because the entire focus of the film is to kill Indiana Jones and then replace him with a British actress. Because there have been all kinds of set reports from the film where they said, oh yeah, it's about time traveling Nazis, and Antonio Banderas is Indy's sidekick in the film for a part of it, and then they go back to the 1930s, and then they encounter young Indiana Jones, who's it's a digital character that they're going to create. Not that I have a problem with them digitally recreating Harrison Ford when he was in his 40s or 30s or so, but still, it's just they've got him playing Indy at two ages, and he's 79. That's a lot to ask for. But at the very end of the film, they kill him off. Well, actually, I should say there are multiple endings. So they did something very bizarre with this movie when they found out about that people knew about the leaks. And so they started doing, when they were reshooting stuff, they reshot scenes multiple times so nobody would ever know what was going to really be used. And when I hear that a studio's doing that, I start to wonder, what the hell kind of a story do you even have if you can do this? That's really awful. That's an awful thing to do to your actors, too. So, the first ending, and this was the ending that got leaked last year, is that not only is old Indiana Jones shot and killed by the head Nazi, who's the Nazi is played by Mads Mikkelsen because Hollywood only wants to use him for bad guys. The younger version is killed by him as well, wiped out from history. So that means none of the other films or characters can ever happen now because they just killed everybody off. And so the film ends with him taking out the lead Nazi before dying and then putting his hat on the reporter girl who's been following him around and tells her it's up to you. Yeah, Mitchell, you're right. Everything Hollywood stopped taking chances with a lot of their entertainment. Oh, I was so the Crystal Skull broke my heart because I was excited to hear that they were doing that. And even though I wasn't on board with the aliens part of the story, it was kind of interesting, so I was willing to give it a chance. But they didn't even write their own script for that movie. And that was the first problem. So when I say they didn't write their own script, what they did is they had the top 3 scripts that they thought would be a good movie, and they set those aside for like 15 years and never got around to using them. So what they ended up doing is taking these 3 scripts and taking bits and pieces of them and then hiring a new writer to take those bits and pieces and just making it more about the alien artifact instead of whatever the religious artifact that the other scripts had. And that was it. It was hodgepodge. I heard the Thing 2011 remake wasn't bad, but I also heard it just wasn't. It wasn't very good either. It was mixed, and I saw some of the computer effects in it, and I was wondering what the hell was wrong with them. And then I found out the same thing everyone else found out about that movie, and that was they'd done all the effects practical, but whoever was in charge of the studio didn't like them and had them add a digital overlay to everything. So then it started to look real artificial. But the real problem I had with that film was they had some of the right ideas for the story, where you just take the same event. It's the same situation that has carried over and over, where the thing gets loose, it kills everybody, and then it sleeps. It's kind of like a curse, because they said in the original screenplay that was implied to be what happened to the alien craft that had it. So then it's just the thing itself is just a chain of events where whoever encounters it just ends up making everything worse because they awaken this horrible alien that is just kind of a parasite, and it will always find some way to survive. And that's not bad, but they didn't do much with the human characters this time around, from what everybody was saying, and they said that there were characters there that they liked, which is good. But the sad thing about that is if you got to make these characters very distinct, and that's why I'm having so much problem with my script. I've got the characters somewhat distinct, but a problem with when you write these characters is you have to come up with a personal viewpoint, and I have to do it for 4. Oh, yeah, I heard some people like the ending. I heard some people didn't like the ending. They just said the thing didn't the thing wasn't very smart in the movie either. It was not a hunter that was getting people alone. It was kind of jumping out and trying to get people when it thought they were alone as opposed to when they were really alone. And it was kind of making too many mistakes. Kitty, I don't need you on my lap. Main character was a Mary Sue. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. That was about the time when the Mary Sue thing was starting to get real popular for some reason. I don't know why, but you got to have people were doing this, but you got to give these characters flaws. Because that's part of what made the first Thing movie so perfect. Everybody had a flaw to them in some way or form. Even though MacReady was very assertive as a character, and he was very logical in what he was doing, he was only one person, and he kept trying to do too much by himself. Which, yeah, that makes perfect sense in that situation. And then there was Childs, who was dependable, but he's got a temper, and that makes him irrational. And then there was Windows, who unfortunately was the scaredy cat of the film, but even though he was the scaredy cat of the film, he was scared of the right things. He was able to be somewhat rational, but he was not dependable. And I'm trying to remember some of the other characters, because I remember Palmer, the pothead, who's very withdrawn throughout the film, but you can see he's still got his wits about him. And then they had that great reveal where Palmer was the Thing all along, and then it makes sense that some of the rational things that you see him doing are not really rational. It's the Thing imitating him. Oh yeah. Well, MacReady, there's a YouTuber who had an interesting theory about the ending of the Thing, and that is the ending of the film and the opening of the film with MacReady are actually, there's a parallel to them, and it's what he thinks the ending of the film really is, and that is that Childs is actually a Thing. And if you look at the chess game, what happens? MacReady thinks he's about to win, loses, and then gives the opponent a drink, which subsequently destroys them. And at the end of the film, you don't know if Childs is the Thing or not, but they're both going to freeze, and there's not much of a chance. Nobody's going to win. So what does MacReady do? He gives Childs a drink. They both still have flamethrowers. And Childs takes the drink, and then MacReady chuckles. And then the film ends. You don't know who's the Thing. You don't know what's going to happen next. But if you go off the very beginning of the film, you kind of have an idea. And the YouTuber that pointed it out was actually, well, it's Oliver something. He's actually really good at this stuff. But he was pointing all this stuff out, and he was saying, oh yeah, the end of the film is Childs is the Thing. MacReady gives his opponent a drink and then destroys him. And it's supposed to mirror the opening scene that you meet MacReady. And I was thinking about that, and I think he probably is right. But the whole reason we're still talking about that movie and that scene is because we don't know. There's no, it's never been said whether or not Child. That's it. Collative learning. Yeah, Collative Learning is a really good channel, even though sometimes he goes off in weirdo directions. But he's not wrong. And there's another British guy who does a similar thing. And was it George Rockwell Smith, I think is the name. He doesn't get as deep, as collative learning, but he's not bad. They both cross a lot of the same paths in their analysis, and both of them take similar approaches to them. So it's, yeah, in order to get this going, I got to get rid of his ass. I don't know if it's having a few screws loose or if it's just the obsessive nature of analysis. And that's the problem with analysis. You can get lost in it. And if you get lost in what you do, you kind of don't really see anything else that's going on. That's always why I've been a little scared to analyze things, because another problem with analyzing content in media and things like that is once you start catching all the holes, sometimes you actually aren't catching holes, you're just making holes in other people's work that weren't there. So, I don't know. But for right now, I'm just minding my own business. I'm laughing at how bad entertainment has become. Because even in video games, the quality is not there that used to be. And I think the sad thing is, it's because people can do everything now. And because they couldn't do everything 20 years ago or 30 years ago in terms of movies and entertainment, they had to start putting more thought into explaining why certain stuff happens. I'm still bitter at how bland and basically how incorrect the remakes to Resident Evil 2 and 3 were, just because they didn't want to remake the games. They wanted to retell them. And I don't know why they wanted to retell them, because other than they think they can do better, or they're trying to correct something. Or worse, they think they're trying to correct something. And we don't need that shit. Respect the source material. The source material is beloved for a reason. And I did not like 2 how they gutted the second act of the game, the second part of the game, not the second act. The whole once you leave the RPD, that was when the game fell apart for me. They changed the antagonist of the games completely, which was really a very poor choice, because they cut out a lot of really spectacular conflict that they had. And I'm never not gonna say that they ruined Annette Birkin as a character, or that they didn't ruin William Birkin as characters, because they did. These were interesting characters. But in the remake, Annette is going around trying to fix the problem she created. And then they had that stupid line, we didn't know what was going to happen. It's like, you were making a goddamn bioweapon. You knew what was going to happen. You designed this shit. Come on. But these were very dynamic characters when they were written in 1998. Simple, yes, but they had the right amount of conflict surrounding them to explain why these characters were the way they were. Whereas in the new version, it's a loveless marriage. They were just there together because they had a shared interest in the work. They're lousy parents. There's no warmth. They're very sterile characters, which is very strange, because even though I generally don't count this, because if it's not in the game, it doesn't count as lore to me. In the original game, there's the lore behind why William Birkin is shot up by Umbrella isn't just because they want the T-virus. I mean, not the T-virus, the G-virus. It's because he's turning over the G-virus to the U.S. government in exchange for safety with his family. and Annette spends the whole section of the game that you meet her. She's half crazy and freaking out over it because she's traumatized over losing her husband, losing their life's work, being responsible for the outbreak, and desperate to protect the legacy that she had left behind. That's all fascinating stuff. That's layered shit. That's the type of things you want to have when you tell a story. But then they just make them victims of Umbrella in the new version, how they were just kind of blinded by their research and they were bad parents and blah blah blah. Don't give me any of that wishy-washy shit. The characters knew what they were doing. That's what made them interesting as characters. And you can't just take it back like that. That's really bad. And I don't know who the fuck gave the okay on that shit because it makes the story boring. But I don't know. Maybe I'm too obsessive as a fan of this. Well, I'm not really a fan anymore because of what they've been doing. But as a former fan, maybe I'm too obsessive and too pure about the series. But it's what made the series work. Were all these carefully chosen story points. And once you start chipping away at the foundation, everything collapses. And that's why the game didn't work for me. And then I've ranted on several streams about how much I hate the third game's remake because they really fucked that up. Turning Jill into a Mary Sue, and who's also half a Karen, was bad. But I didn't like the angry personality that they gave her either. The one thing that they did in the game that could have worked was they introduced the concept of PTSD. Oh, I don't know. People use the argument too often, like when something, for what it is, and having someone change it all doesn't make you a Puritan, it just means you don't like the changes. I don't know. I've been trying to look over what the formula for Resident Evil as a game is. So I went back to the original source material just to get some rough ideas. I was analyzing the timeline of events, and I realized every setting in the game tells a story. It's kind of funny in the original game and its amazing remake. The first part of the game that you encounter, the mansion, is technically the end of the story for everybody that was in the mansion. It's the aftermath. It is, nobody survived, so this is all the end of the game. All the end of the original Arklay Mansion saga. And then you start at the ending and you work your way over to the beginning of it, which is a really novel approach. Well, the Silent Hill series kind of did the same with at least the first part. The first game did a little bit of that, but because the first game gets into the supernatural, it's the chain of events you find out in terms of timeline doesn't quite matter as much. But because Resident Evil was science fiction, that timeline of events was important. Hey, there we go. Look at that. The fat boy is almost there. Bitchin'. Because I have to redo all these designs. So I'm starting off with the heavy here, but that's the thing. You come in at the very end of the mansion incident as the STARS team, and then you work your way from the end to the beginning, and you get to see all the monsters and everything else there. That's actually really clever, and it's an interesting approach, and it's also, even though they did not have the technology when they made that game or the second game or the remake of it, it's kind of a forensic approach to everything where you work around certain moments, because you don't find out that the game is science fiction really until you get the first researcher's will I remember correctly. That's the one where that's the famous Itchy Tasty letter where he gets into the where he's explaining what realistically is dying to the T virus. Hey, that's good shit. You know, it's creepy and stuff like that. So I was redoing this the opening story to Misfortune because my composer is getting on me for being lazy. She's trying to tell me, you know, she has a regret. My composer is upset because uh, she was contacted by the creator of Friday Night Funkin' to do some music for the game, which could have meant a lot of money for her and some notoriety and things like that. It could have changed her life a little bit, and she never responded because she just figured, oh, it's somebody else on Newgrounds who wants to make a game. Well, the last 3 times I've done this, nothing has happened. It always fell apart. Whatever. Well, then it turned out we all know what happened to Friday Night Funkin'. It built up that community, and it got that amazing Kickstarter money where they made millions of dollars. It's got a great fan base, and it's because she never responded. She's always lamented that, and I don't blame her. So she wants me to, at the very least, finish off the demo of the game because she's already got a little bit of music made. And so I had to rethink because I had to take time off from working on my game's demo because I didn't like what I had because my obsessive nature for perfection ruined it. But then also I had to just take a break, and then my father's health started to go downhill, which is also why I had to take a break. And then the worst part was, while that was happening to me, I found out my programmer was also going through some shit. He still hasn't responded back to me, but I went back to the first setting in the game, which is a small underground prison where Vesuvia gets to escape from. And I originally just had it very, very basic. Bare bones, 3 rooms. You go from room A to room B, and then once you get to room C, you find a dead body. And then you find a note left behind on the body, and then you get the magical deck of cards, because that's going to be the weapon in the game. And then you just make your way upstairs. Well, there was no story to any of that. It's very small, it's very basic, it's not that engaging. So what I did is I was analyzing some of the structure for Resident Evil, the original 96 games format for the chain of events and everything else, and I realized, okay, that was also very basic, but they had a little bit more on the way. And so what they did is they started it off. They start the mystery off very simple. Doesn't matter if it's Chris or Jill. First you get into the weird setting. As the player, you have no control over that. You just end up there because that's how the game goes. The second step was that Chris is missing, or Jill or Barry's missing. So you have a missing teammate, and once you go in there and start looking around, you find blood. You know, Chris's blood. Well, after you find Chris's blood, you go over to the next setting, which is, just the third room. It's the hallway where you find the body. And the body is being eaten by the zombie. Well, it raises questions because now you have antagonism that has been introduced. You find out that there's hostile creatures inside this setting. And then you have to split up to find Chris or Barry. Unless you're, well, actually, no, if you're playing Chris, when you come back to report on finding out that Kenneth's dead, Jill is missing, and so is Wesker. And it constantly raises questions. And I realized, oh, that's the thing about these mystery games. The mystery always starts off with something mundane. A simple question leads to more questions, which leads to more problems. And that's what I wasn't doing. So I started it off just with, oh, you find the dead body of a jailer. And then the question is, why is the character in jail? Well, that's pretty minimal. It's not all that engaging. It's also a little too mundane. So I extended the settings from 3 rooms to 6 rooms. And it finally tells a small story. It's still not a great story. I'm trying to beef it up just a little bit because I need to have that interesting story that grabs your attention, and I don't quite have that yet. I'm not, but the fact that I know I don't have that yet is a good thing, because that means I just need to do a little bit more with what I have. Because the first question is, why am I here? And giving the character memory loss for the very start is always a pretty good way to get things going, because then the character has no idea why she's there. So I can just dick around with certain hints. Okay, we've got a heavy. Oh, damn it! Look what I did. I accidentally drug that over. Let me fix that shit. Come on. There. That is what I don't want to do, because that ruined those are the graphics. But I'm learning how to take a basic question with a mystery and expand upon it little by little. And unfortunately, because this is also 1920s post-Victorian, I'm trying to catch the dialect of the era just a little bit, because it always adds a little extra charm, because nobody wants to see a cowboy movie with cowboys talking like modern day guys. I don't want to watch a cowboy movie, have a cowboy miss roping somebody and say, that sucked. Like, come on, they had their own words for this stuff. It breaks the immersion. Okay, here's the heavy. Huh. I'm hearing my father cough. I haven't heard him cough in weeks. I did like Bone Tomahawk. I didn't think it was as phenomenal as everybody else did, but I liked it. I thought it was one of the best horror films I'd seen in a long time. And I like that it wasn't a horror film per se. It was a film that had horror in it. Oh, come on, you guys. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it was very well written. It had very nice casting. It was a little bit smaller of a movie than I expected it to be. When I say that, I mean the story was very small. Not that that's bad. I was just kind of thinking, oh, is this going to get bigger as it goes on? And actually, as the story went on, it got a little smaller. Yeah, because it's a low budget film. It's small because it's a low budget film. But that's okay. I like low budget films. I just keep trying to think to myself about the climax of the movie where they're stuck in there with the troglodytes. And I keep going in the back of my head trying to think, oh, well, what's an interesting way to have gotten a character out of that? And I couldn't come up with anything. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Because yeah, it was well written. It had very good characters. Had a memorable ending, even though the ending was kind of downbeat. But that's it's horror. That is how horror movie endings kind of are. But I enjoyed it. I don't know if he's done anything else because I remember hearing from people he made 3 films and then stopped to take a break for a few years. And I know some people have just kind of preferred his first film over Dragged Across Concrete, and I don't remember what the other one was. Ay, ay, ay. I'm just taking a quick look at the news, and I'm not seeing anything interesting. That's probably a good thing. But yeah, I'm trying to capture a little bit more of the pulp horror essence. Because in the 1920s, that's when pulp fiction uh, magazines were starting to pop up. And there is a certain flow to those stories and a tone that I have not been able to quite capture. But I'm still learning because I've got my protagonist. The only hard part is I'm still sorting her out as a character because she has amnesia due to supernatural events. So I'm trying to work out all this crazy shit and still work on my art design for the setting because the more I play around with what I have, the more I realize since it's my first game, I've got to be creative with it because I can't sit around and draw everything and animate everything like I was originally planning on. So I have to pick and choose. And I haven't quite figured out how I want to do my cutscenes yet. So I've been studying a few other games to get some ideas. Wrong color. Haven't gotten those ideas yet, but I'm still trying. And let's see. What is the blue? I need to double check the blue heavy item that I'm going to use for it. There we go. The buffalo steak sandwich. That is the item that the heavy is going to be using to eat with for this cartoon. I still need to do his bullets. Well, shit. Come here, you. Get me a brass looking color. And yeah, this is me continually and adamantly remaining lazy. Oh, come on, you dickhead. Thank you. Yeah, this is always the one detail in the heavies that I hate drawing. Because it's a lot of detail, but I think I can simplify things just a little bit. Okay, Heavy weapons guy, TF2, blah blah blah. Double checking my reference. Okay. Yeah. I know I probably shouldn't hyperfixate on some of this stuff the way I do, but it's a good thing to do when you're trying to level your skills up as an animator. And the color here needs to change just a little bit. I need some more. There. 1, 2. Blue. I don't want to take 4 years though. I really don't. I just want to blink and have stuff done sometimes. Because before I finish this stream, I will have my heavy design finished off. Okay. So what I'm going to do is an old trick. You only do where you just do a handful of these, just to set the stage that yes, there's this extra detail here. But I only do a handful of these. So I do it at one end. And then you do it at the other end. And then you leave the middle bare. It's not the perfect solution, and I still do have to add just a little bit more detail. But that's all the detail I'm willing to add right now. I'm also still trying to debate on what to do for dinner tonight. Because even though I'd love to do Mexican food, the problem is if I do Mexican food, I'm going to want to put salsa on it, and ever since I had COVID, my gut does not like salsa anymore. It actually burns in the night and upsets me enough to have to go to the restroom a few times. I would normally do that, but I'm trying to do things just a little differently. You know, I don't know why COVID goes after our taste buds the way it does. I just know one thing, and that is my, for whatever reason, ever since I had it, my stomach is not a fan of salsa or spices. And I hate that because that means I can't even put chili powder on meat and give it that nice little tanginess. And I hate that so damn much because it's so good, and I can't enjoy it now. And let's see, the bullet color up top needs to change. But it's horrible because I used to, I would never go wild with salsa, but I always had it on my meat. And now I can't eat that anymore. For some reason, it just burns my stomach. So yeah, it only started after I had COVID. And what really sucks is there is a breakfast burrito that I learned how to make. Nothing special. It's just, bacon or sausage and egg. You suck, Mitchell. But I learned how to make a nice breakfast burrito. Sometimes you put onion or bell pepper in there. And then there was this hot sauce that you put on there. This hot sauce is really good. And I really like this hot sauce where it would have a pleasant little burn to it. Well, I can't do that anymore because that really burns my stomach now. Frickin' COVID ruins everything, and then it makes everything worse. because then you can't eat stuff you like. Because, yeah, I can still eat it, and it'll still taste good. But then I have to make trips to the restroom. And it ain't fun. Okay, just... there. Heavy's done. Need to do his buffalo steak sandwich. I should also actually do one last perspective of him. Yeah, before I forget. Because talking about all this food's making me hungry. So I haven't really eaten much of anything today. The last bit of perspective is the 3/4 perspective. Oof. Yeah, I still got my gallbladder. I would assume that's probably what's gets irritated when I eat salsa. So I just have to do without, and I really don't like that. I miss being able to just have some salsa on chips or have some salsa with my burritos or even cook with salsa. Get some chicken and cook it in the skillet. All that's good stuff, but I don't get to do that now. Instead, I just find other spices to put on there, because I can. The nice thing is, even if I can't do spicy, I can still do savory. And that's good because I like savory also. So I have to see what my folks are going to want for dinner tonight. Banana peppers aren't bad. I found I kind of prefer basic bell peppers, even though they're not always as flavorful as other vegetables. They go really good with spaghetti. So does cucumber. Yeah, sorry. I like basic bell peppers a little bit more than I do banana peppers. And I want to salvage this, because this will presumably be the perspective I draw him at for the first few shots of the tune. Even though it's going to have to be, everything is, because it's at this angle, it's going to be rounded just a little bit more. Let's see, we've got bratwurst we could get into dinner. Though I've already had bratwurst the other day. I'm still trying to think of what to do. Normally I would say worst case scenario, oh, we've got fish, we could do that, but I really hate fish. Salt water, fresh water, it doesn't matter. I have trouble eating fish. It's a taste, it's a texture thing, and I've never been able to really deal with it. But the problem is, it's not, fish is one of the best things you can eat. But in my case, it kind of makes me want to dry heave. I cook it, and I cook it pretty well, which is always good. But damn, it's just really strong. It's very strong in terms of smell and flavor. So the next step after I do the heavy is I have to start looking at background concepts, because I'm not sure how I want to do backgrounds. I want to do better backgrounds than I did last time, that's for sure, but I haven't figured out how to pull that off yet. Okay, let's see. Oh no, they're doing Captain America 4. Fucking Marvel. Marvel is out of ideas, so they want to do Captain America 4. I do not have Adobe Illustrator. I've been meaning to look into getting an older copy of that, but I've just never done it. I never think about it. If I did get it, I would try and find something, an old copy. But yeah, but it looks like they are, to further emphasize the fact that they're out of ideas, they're bringing back classic Captain America, and they're doing something with his DNA to make him young again, and now he's not going to be but he can't be the Captain America that people like. So he has to be angry that America isn't globalist. The only interesting thing I'm just now reading about this is they've got Tim Blake Nelson in it as the leader, which is nice because he was supposed to be that character after he did the Incredible Hulk. What was it, 15 years ago? Oh, they're still doing current Captain America also. So it's still so Sam is now is Captain America, even though he's Captain America and Falcon at the same time. He gets to be Captain America alongside Steve Rogers as Captain America again. Because Marvel wants everybody to be globalist or something. I don't know. I've never understood the need to have to unify the world underneath one banner, just because of how badly that has worked out in the past for human civilization. We've had how many dictators who do that? Did anybody ever want to take a look at the Roman Empire and see how that worked out? Because yeah, it worked out for a while, but it created so many problems down the road. Yeah, he does kind of look like an American Dad character. Everything up here works. It's down here. It's the mouth. It's still not quite coming together. I think it's because it's because it's not balanced out. Because on the other perspective, his mouth stops right about there. There. It's balanced out a little bit more at least. So I should probably adjust his neckline. Here. I don't know if I want to do that, even though it's part of what he looks like, because everything here is so simplified. But let me pull up his reference design, because the problem is it's hard to say no to putting that in there, because that is part of the design. Even though it's easily identifiable, you can easily identify who it is. See, oh, this needs to come up right there. That's why. Okay. Good for brown. That's the color. Now it looks just like him. I still have a little bit of detail to add. I've got to put some stuff there. Yeah. Yep, you're right. I should keep the 5 o'clock shadow. It makes him look just like the character he is. Even though I'm still trying to keep things minimal. But oops, that's right. This is up here. Okay, we've got ourselves. Oops, didn't want that. We've got it the heavy. What else am I missing? Ah, yes. There's one more color I got to put on the arms. Okay, so they are that bit of yellow does stay there. Well, because I'm lazy, we will just do this for now and call it a day, since it's 5:30, getting time for dinner, and we've been talking about food, and I've been inadvertently making myself hungry. Although I still don't know what I'm going to do for dinner. But Mexican food would sure be nice. I think we've still got some tortillas. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what food I like during the fall weather, other than your basic soups and things like that. Because winter and fall is kicking in pretty quick here. Believe it or not, it was 100 or so degrees here 2 days ago. Chicken chili is great. Chili by itself is good stuff too. Yep, I like it. I don't like the cold as much as I like it when it's cool. But okay, so that is going to be it for this stream today. I will see about doing another one tomorrow, because now that I've got this started, I can proceed on the tune. And that's good because it's been such a long time since I've done a Toon Fortress tune. I still haven't worked out how I'm going to start the tune off, other than him picking up his sandwich. So, but other than that, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you guys either tomorrow or Monday. We'll see what happens, because now that my dad's on chemo, every day is going to be a little different. So hopefully everything works out. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys later.